There's good and there's bad and there's happy and sad and there's mom and there's dad and there's right and there's wrong and there's weak and there's strong and lose and find and mean and kind and heart and mind and dull and shine and there's deuce and ace and time and space and there's girls and there's guys and there's hellos and there's goodbyes and there's new and old and hot and cold and meek and bold and now and then and nothing and ten and nothing and zen and rooster and hen and saints and sinners and losers and winners and thinkers and doers and rivers and sewers and there's hard and there's soft and there's storefront and there's loft and there's homes and there's tents and there's ladies and gents and there's nephew and there's niece and there's own and there's lease and there's war and peace and war and peace. There's death and there's life and husband and wife and art and life and canvas and paint and is and ain't and love and hate and early and late and doom and fate and there's Steve and Edie and giving and greedy and you can work or play or leave or stay and there's night and day and snow and sun and daughter and son and there's fast and there's slow and there's come and there's go and there's tell and show and suck and blow and there's normal and odd and there's nothing and there's God and there's lost and found and square and round and silence and sound and there's smart and stupid and Apollo and Cupid and there's passion and passive and tiny and massive and ugly and pretty and country and city and there's thinking and feeling and buying and stealing and standing and kneeling and harmful and healing and there's floor and ceiling and there's living and killing and Jesus and Dylan and Buddha and Nixon and breaking and fixing and matching and mixing and there's fried and there's mashed and there's baked and there's hashed and there's push and pull and empty and full and half and whole and there's your body and there's your soul and there's laugh, there's cry, there's girl, there's guy, there's straight, there's bi and there's live and die and there's prissy and there's raunchy and there's Laurie Anderson and there's Vito Acconci and there's Joseph Boys and there's Bob and Bob and there's being an artist and there's getting a job and there's slow and fast and present and past and this and that and dog and cat and thin and fat and hit and miss and bite and kiss and Dick and Jane and modest and vain and water and rock and ring or knock and there's Picasso and Brock and there's starved and fed and green and red and orange and blue and Christian and Jew and Arab and chocolate and carob and there's sweet and sour and peace and power and Sadat and Begin and Ronald and Reagan and Carl Sagan and succeeding and failing and Willie and Waylon and Bowie and Eno and poker and Keno and there's better and worse and there's bless and there's curse and pro and con and off and on and auction and pawn and there's the LAPD and there's Don Juan and there's pain and there's pleasure and there's trash and there's treasure and there's pimps and priests and crumbs and feasts and lights and darks and buildings and parks and dealers and narcs and guppies and sharks and Linda and Michelle and heaven and there's collapse and cope and dirt and soap and God and dope and defeat and there's hope.